Hello and welcome to the Interrobang's Red Couch podcast. I'm your host, Justin Koehler, and today I have the pleasure of being here with my good friend, Mauricio Prado. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing pretty good.
Great to have you on here. I know you've done the Interrobang, the podcast, a few times, I think like 4 times over the summer. It's always tons of fun. How do you like the Red Couch podcast, being on them?
It's at first it was a little bit challenging because you have to really gather all the data and all the information you want to ask or even respond. But once you get a grip on it, it's fun because you don't even feel the time. Time goes by and you just like having a conversation with someone related on some topic. So it's pretty manageable and it's pretty easy.
Yeah, they usually go by pretty quick. It's getting it started. That's always the tough part. But once you get things rolling, it all passes pretty quick and it's pretty fun.
It's better to stay ready than to get ready.
Oh yeah, 100%. And so speaking of your time on the podcast, you were also here over the summer. For those who don't know, you actually were working with the Interrobang as a reporter pretty much for the whole summer up until you were going all the way through pretty much August too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. So tell us a little bit about that. I know a few of us have been on all of last year for the Interrobang too, so it's a little bit of a different experience doing it during the summer, versus actually during the school terms. How was it during the summer? Did you have a good time? Did you have fun?
Well, during the summer, this is the perfect job for me that I'm a journalist because you know what? I'm an international student, right? So I don't have a lot of contacts here, but working on the summer here, gathering information, gathering contacts, talking to people, going to interviews, assisting events. Some people even recognize me, so I have slowly built my contacts. So it has been pretty easy to contact, for example, the police department, which at the beginning was pretty hard, but now that they know me, they even have my email address and everything. They already know that I work for the Interrobang and that I'm probably asking or inquiring some type of information. So the fact that it blows my mind, believe it or not, the fact that I'm an international student and slowly getting noticed and making my way to the journalistic world in another country, it's a big thing for me. It's a big asset for me because at the end of the day, when I'm working in the field, when I finish my career in Fanshawe, and I started working in the field, people will already know who I am. So it's not gonna be that hard to get to know to new people because those people can introduce me to another people, and my circle of contacts gonna get bigger. And at the end of the day, that's the journalistic dream, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, and contacts are just huge to have, and especially when you're going out to some major events around the city. If you already have rapport with someone that you've talked to, it just cuts out that whole introduction step of an interview process, and it makes things so infinitely easier. I know you and I went out to cover that transit expansion down on the north end of town, and we talked with Josh Morgan, so the mayor of London. I think you said you ran into him again at a different event later, and he already recognized you.
Yeah.
Just so cool. But I never thought of the difference because you're an international student. Me, I've been in London my whole life, so meeting the mayor in general was cool and something I've been wanting to do for a while. You've been able to do that within just months, which is ridiculous, and your contact list is already so incredibly huge just from working over the summer. So that was one of probably the better things that you've done is the contact list from working with the Interrobang over the summer. Were there any difficulties or transitional problems from going from a more school setting consistently to then just working it actually every single day for a whole summer?
At the beginning, yes. Every beginning is rough, but once you get a grip on it, it's easy, and it's even more easy when you love what you're doing. So, for example, at the beginning, I loved being out there. And with that interview you told me about Josh Morgan, the second time I ran into him, he even said to me, long time no see. And I was like, yeah, who would have thought, right? So for me, it felt good because getting recognized by the mayor, I mean, it's a big deal, right?
Pretty huge.
And also the fact that I can connect with another people. For example, I connected through Josh Morgan. I connected through Sean Lewis. Mm-hmm. So, and I had another interview with Sean Lewis. He was at the gym, and he said to me like, "Hey, I'm gonna go to the gym at this time. Can you be there at that time? We can do a quick interview." And I was, yeah, of course. So imagine that. It was so casual to be talking with him, and also I'm so grateful to have that opportunity. But going from a college setting to the Interrobang setting was a little bit hard because we were used to work on one story every 2 weeks, for example. We even had assignments about that. But when I started working with Hannah, the pace was a little bit faster, right? So I need to move a little bit more to gather more context a little bit more. So at the beginning it was hard, but then once you get a grip on it, it started going easy. And another thing, let me tell you this, then when you have a strong contacts, for example, I cover the film festival because they gave like 3 tickets for students, and actually 2 of them won from Pancha won those tickets to go see the full festival, right? So I had an interview again with them, and they asked me, specifically me, imagine that, specifically me to cover the Forest Film Festival, the entire thing. Like they even told me like the type of movies they're gonna show, why they're gonna showing, why they think the film industry here in London is important, and why they think it's growing. So really having that intimacy with your contacts, it really feels good as a journalist. And let me tell you, this is just the beginning. I'm planning to go for more.
Oh, 100%. I still just can't believe you ran into the deputy mayor at the gym. That's hilarious. That's so fun. And the Force City, the film festival, that's not a small event either. That's a pretty big London event to actually kind of be invited to cover. So that's a pretty cool experience from over the summer. On that note, of all the stories that you covered throughout your time over the summer, did you have a favorite one that you just had a great time covering and writing an article for?
Probably my favorite one was related to mental health. Because I look, the human nature, it's a mystery, right? And we're all learning every new stuff every day. So regarding the brain, you know that the brain is the most powerful thing, the most powerful weapon a human has. So knowing the brain, knowing how it functions, knowing why it functions, knowing what you like, the things you like, why you don't like the things you like, knowing yourself, for me it's a really important topic, because it defines who am I as a person. So I have what I'm telling you is that I enjoy those that specific article, the articles I did regarding mental health, because I got the pleasure to speaking with a lot of psychologists. Nice. Right? So if you are interviewing a psychologist, or if you even talking with a psychologist, you can learn a lot from them, because they have a lot of experience, they have a lot of expertise in the field, and they know what they're saying. So the fact that I was able to speak my mind through an article with the help of a psychologist, it was just fantastic for me. It was just it's such an experience. In fact I saved their contacts. I usually said at the end of every interview, and that's one thing Hannah taught me, is to say, do you have anything else to add? And at the end, I just say, we keep in touch, because you never know. Probably there's another thing, another study, another mental health problem arising, and what better people to talk to than psychologists, for example, in this case. Or imagine there's another big politics issue, and what better person to talk than politics, and that's how you start building your networking, which I have noticed that in our field, it's really important. In fact, it is all, as a journalist, having a strong, solid contact list.
Oh, 100%. And ending interviews on a sort of let's keep in touch sort of a note. It's always great, because one of the biggest things that I've found in the journalism space is people like talking, especially if it's about subjects that are important to them. So anytime where people talk with you and essentially say, oh, I actually really enjoyed talking with this person, it was really cool to talk about, in this case, mental health, which is a huge topical point of interest for a lot of people. Anytime where they can then have that future avenue to say more about it and have their voice heard about a subject is huge. So as a journalist, it's so easy to just add their name to your contact list, say, hey, I'd love to talk with you later. And it just helps you with future interviews. And
another thing that I have learned, that if you're trying to contact someone and you're having a hard time finding his or her contact information, probably that person doesn't want to get contacted, right? So at the beginning, I had a hard time finding psychologists, but then I found out that a Western psychologist was doing a study about mental health and suicide and all those type of delicate topics, right? So everybody that is doing a study, they want to show up the world of what are the results, right? Why are they doing that study, and how they can help. So I contact her, and she was absolutely happy to talk about this mental issue. So that's one thing I have noticed. If you're having troubles finding contact information, you better move on to another person. And if someone really wants to get contacted, you will find their contact information all over the place. Sometimes there is on Facebook, sometimes they put it on LinkedIn, sometimes they put it even on their webpage. Contact us. There is like a generic email like info@fansha, for example, and there is another email that is specifically for them, for media, for example. So those are the little things I have learned, because I'm not gonna lie, when I started working on the Interrobang, I find a little bit frustrating that people don't get back to me. But I don't have to rely just on one person, right? And I learned that working on the Interrobang, and I'm gonna put that in practice during the semester, because during the semester we're gonna still have to do stories and interview people, which is good, and at the same time it's gonna make my contact list even stronger.
And it's a good time to give a shout out to Fanshawe, Western, and the City of London's media relations people. They've been the best over the summer, where if it's like, I want to talk about forest fires this week, send a message out to someone at the Western media relations team. They hook you up with 6 different people that you could do an interview on. They were amazing this summer to deal with all of those different avenues. And so kind of jumping from the past to the present a little bit, as of recording this, we just had our orientation for the broadcast journalism program yesterday, and we're kind of just getting into our first week, really ramping up. What are some of the big things that you learned and you are taking away from your time with the Interrobang over the summer that are going to help you going into the fall as you actually get back into schooling?
There's one thing, there's one phrase that Hannah always says to me. Sometimes as a journalist, you have to be annoying. So, and that has helped me a lot, because sometimes I don't get a response on the first email. The next day I just send another email just as a follow-up. The next day I just send another email just as a follow-up, just wishing they're okay, and then saying it's just a follow-up. I'm really invested in talking with you, and they eventually got back at me. So that's a good thing sometimes, and unfortunately that is true. Sometimes you have to be annoying, but at the end of the day, I usually get the interviews I want.
Persistence is indeed key for a lot of things. And yeah, I think a lot of people, when they see media emails come in from people asking for interviews, they might be thinking, oh, this person just sent out 20 emails out to talk to whoever about this. I don't know if I need to answer it. But then, yeah, if they see that you message multiple times, that's when they realize, oh, this person actually really wants to talk to me. They're interested in actually hearing what I have to say and not just getting an interview out of me. So it's always good to be persistent. Of course, Hannah would say that. That's a great little quote from Hannah. That's awesome.
and also you have to keep in mind something, that when you are crafting your first email, you need to, I usually focus specifically on why that person, right? Because I can talk to a lot of psychologists, for example, going back to the mental thing, but why that person? So for example, for that person, I did, for the psychologist I interviewed for the Western, I did a little bit of research. That's how I find out about the study she was doing. So I just included that in the email. I saw you were doing a study regarding this and this and this. I would love to talk about the result of this study. Would you have time to talk with me? And I sent the email, and she got back to me the same day, because that way the people feel special, you know, that you're contacting them over 1,000 other psychologists, right? So that's another thing I have learned.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really good takeaway to get into all the work that we'll be doing in broadcast journalism. And so for the paper, for the Interrobang, the next issue coming up that's releasing on the same day that this podcast is releasing is our sex issue. Did you write any articles for the upcoming paper?
Yeah, I write an article because I usually write things that I am curious about, right? So, and this is a little bit of a culture shock because in El Salvador, in my country, we don't use that much dating apps. You know that. So when I came here, I started noticing that a lot of people are using dating apps, and actually dating apps are a really strong way to meet new people, to go out with new people, even to go out in groups. To certain places, bowling, a disco, whatever. So I pitched that idea to Hannah. Hannah liked that idea, so that's why I contacted another psychologist, by the way, and I also interviewed one guy who actually met his fiance through Hinge. Imagine that. So I was just, I honestly, I was just curious, you know, because usually mainly on dating apps, you literally judge people by the book, just by pictures, right? So I was just curious about why, right? How did that love flourish? So I interviewed flourish. I interviewed him, and he said to me like it was like an instant connection. They started like talking, then they get out of the app, and when they were talking through Snapchat, it was during COVID time, so they were talking on Snapchat during 6 months. Imagine that consistency. Oh. So and later on they met in person. Now they're engaged. So, and I talked with this psychologist, and the psychologist told me that dating apps is actually a really good way if you're a shy person. If you don't like to go out, if you feel that you're a different type of person, that you're not that extroverted, dating apps are a good way. But here's the takeaway. Here's the how do you say the negative part of it. You have to have a strong attitude, because as in any other dating apps, there is bad comments and rude people. So if you're not willing to take the heat, you better don't use those dating apps, because you will encounter a lot. You will encounter a lot of different people. So it was a really interesting topic for me to talk about. And if there was another time in which I can talk about those type of topics, I'll probably do a follow up, because there's dating apps going out every month. It was, if you go on Google on the Google Store or even on Apple Store, you will find a lot of different dating apps. There is even dating apps that can match you by music, but your music taste,
which is awesome. That's such a cool way to do it. I'm so excited to read that article when it comes out. And there's so many that are coming out that I'm really, really looking forward to reading. And so after that, so the next one that's coming out is our technology issue. Have you been thinking of any topics, or are you excited to talk about anything in the tech space for that one coming up? I know I'm big into flip phones and kind of combining old-fashioned retro tech like Motorola Razrs with regular everyday smartphones. Are there any big tech topics that you're excited to talk about?
Probably the biggest one right now is AI. Oh, and huge. How colleges are implementing AI in their colleges and high schools are implementing that into their learning experiences.
Yeah, and even in our orientation for broadcast journalism, over the past couple of days, we've talked about AI a few times because of just how integrated in our society it already is. Becoming. So that's a really good one to touch on. And so, Mauricio, just to wrap up this whole little podcast episode, I've done it a few times, and I like doing it with everyone I talk to, but I like asking quick little lightning questions to everybody, just so that the people listening get a little bit better of an idea of you on a little more personal level, without going too deep. So for these, I'm just going to rapid fire questions. I just want you to answer the first thing that pops into your head, the quickest thing you think of, okay?
Okay.
So first off, I know this will be tough for you. Favorite band?
Corn.
That's not a surprise at all. Do you play any instruments?
Guitar. Yeah.
Guitar. Nice. How long have you been playing for?
I've been playing guitar since I was 3 years old.
Whoa! So you'll be infinitely better than I am at guitar. What's your favorite season? Spring, summer, winter, fall?
Probably winter, because I don't have winter in my country. So.
Oh, that's true. See, and that's on the opposite end of me, where winter is the worst and just terrible. But I can understand that. Good pick. Do you have a favorite television show?
Yeah, probably Rick and Morty.
Rick and Morty?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. They're working on a new season, I think. Yeah?
Yeah.
So that'll
They
be fun.
definitely are. And you know what? Another series, The Boys.
Oh, I love The Boys.
Yeah, The
Great
Boys.
show. Yeah, if you're looking for the negative side of superheroes and kind of the flip side of like the Marvel and DC movies, great show to watch. Adore that one. Favorite restaurant?
The Mandarin.
The Mandarin?
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be that or Red Lobster for you. So, good pick. Off of that, do you have a favorite food?
Lasagna, yeah.
Lasagna?
Yeah.
That's a good pick. Yeah, you can't really go wrong with a lasagna. Do you cook?
Yeah, I cook.
And do you have a favorite dish to cook?
Probably plain rice.
Plain rice. Oh, exciting. And a very exciting pick. All right. It goes with everything. You can't go wrong with rice. And what did you want to be when you were a kid?
I wanted to be a policeman.
A policeman?
Yeah, because I was involved in a lot of... I used to watch a lot of series about police and crimes and all that, so I was really inspired about that. But then life took over me, so...
Life took... That's it. Get that on a t-shirt. And last quick one for you. Do you have a favorite video game?
Of course, Gears of War.
Gears of War?
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have a favorite one in that six? That's, I think, Gears of War, is it 5 or 6 that they're on?
It's 5 right now. They're working on 6.
Do you have a favorite one?
Yeah, 3.
3?
3.
Good pick. And so, Mauricio, that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for doing this little reporter rant interview with me. I appreciate your time. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you for having me.
And so this has been the Interrobang's Red Couch podcast. You can listen to previous and future episodes on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, Google, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Be sure to catch our next issue, which hits shelves today, or on our website at theinterrobang.ca, where you can stay up to date on all things Fanshawe. For the Red Couch podcast, I'm Justin Koehler.